statement for each candidate. And again, candidates, please adhere to the time limits. We do have a timer. She'll be holding up, first of all, a 30-second flag, and then a 15-second flag, that's my guess, and then it time's up. So we thank you very much for doing that. Let's start the first opening statement with our incumbent Senator Jim Nielsen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to the Chamber, thank you for allowing this opportunity for open government, the opportunity for us to present our points of view. As a young farmer years ago, I got active because I realized government was the biggest thing that affected my ability to farm, and I needed to do something about it rather than complain. That set me on a long course of public service. I've always continued my agricultural endeavors, but I've devoted an awful lot of my time and attention to public service. Why? Because we do make a difference. We individuals make a difference. And what I feared then and experienced then, these years hence, I'm all the more concerned now that the people are not running this government. That is, the bureaucracies of government that are the most powerful. They're more powerful even than your elected representatives, and I can tell you stories very specifically related to the Water Resources Control Board or the Air Resources Control Board. And most of what my staff and I do serving you on your behalf is working with and fighting against the agencies of government who are giving you so much trouble. That's a sad state of affairs, but it's got to be, the course has got to be changed. And I rather enjoy the battle with those agencies of government. And we need to wrest that back. California faces many, many problems. The budget is a huge one. And this year, a huge victory has been accomplished. A huge victory, and that's called the Rainy Day Fund. And that Rainy Day Fund, by 1.5% of year, every budget goes into the Rainy Day Fund for economic uncertainties or unforeseen eventualities. And it's been made much harder, and this goes to the people of the state of California in Prop 2, and I hope you'll support that. It's going to be a lot harder for the legislature to take money out and spend that on other than those essential emergency things. That happened with bipartisan support. And my long experience as the budget guy in the legislature, I participated very heavily in being an architect of that. And it will be one of the highlights of my career, that Rainy Day Fund. Further, for the first time since the Oroville Dam, the State Water Project, we have accomplished a water bond, Prop 1, that we need to support. Prop 1 will provide storage, so our water policies will not be predicated on the sharing of scarcities. Another huge issue that's starting to be written about a lot is public safety, and I'm uniquely qualified for all the years that I served as the California chairman of the Board of Prison Terms. I've looked at this up front and personal. And our legislators and our governor have unleashed upon us a crime wave of unprecedented proportions. I want to continue to work on your behalf to attack those challenges.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. And now we have up to 3 minutes for C.J. Jawahar.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Thank you, Yuba-Sutter Chamber, and thank you, voters. Thank you, moderators Bob and Angel Diaz. Very good to see you again. Senator shared his experience. Obviously, he's an incumbent, so he could talk to you about what he did. As a candidate, since January, I went around the district probably 10 times. I inherited 8 counties in my district, from Sacramento all the way to Tehama, Red Bluff. Wherever I went, fairs, markets, grocery shops, shaking hands with voters, only 2 things I heard: jobs, water. Jobs, water. It is very surprising Senator Nielsen did not touch upon the job. He said about the water, he said about realignment. But my primary focus is jobs. And I have been writing on the jobs for a very long time now. Here I am, inherited a district which is 8 county, predominantly rural. Luckily, I have a urban area of 150,000, part of Plaza and part of Sacramento. So this is how I divide. This is what I want to accomplish when you send me to the Senate in November. Urban jobs and rural jobs. Because there is no way we can bring a plain building manufacturing into our backyard. I'm not going to promise you about that. But there are ways we can bring jobs into the predominantly agricultural counties. And then there's entirely a separate plan for the urban. I serve as a transportation commissioner, City of Roseville. In that capacity, I know what it takes to create jobs, especially in that one segment of the economy, transportation. You can reduce emission, you can create more job from the construction, you can create more job ongoing basis. Just to give you an example, we are trying to create a third track between Auburn and Sacramento, which would create 10 round trips, cutting the emission and helping people to navigate the rush hours, considering Sacramento is a government town. So I have a lot of other plans. We are going to talk about that today. I'm here. Very good to see you. Thank you for your votes at the primary. And I'm here to ask you again for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. I'd like to mention briefly that these forums are being taped by the Appeal Democrat. Will be on the Appeal Democrat's website within 3 days. Also, just for tonight, the City of Yuba City is streaming live this forum and the City Council forum, and that's on the city's YouTube channel, and it's youtube.com/Yuba City CA. And that'll be, I'll mention it again if I remember before the City Council one starts, but that's streaming now. And again, it's only for this venue that we're doing this. Okay, we'll have Angel ask the first question of Jim Nielsen.
Good evening. The prospects are still alive in this area for a major casino project that's being built in Yuba County, north of Wheatland, next to the Sleep Train Amphitheater. Will you support this major job-producing venue?
Repeat the first part of the question, sir.
Sure. The prospects are still alive for a major casino project being built in Yuba County, north of Wheatland, next to the Sleep Train Amphitheater. Will you support this major job-producing venue?
No, I will not. You're talking about enterprise.
Yes.
And there's a major issue. When you deal with issues like this, you have to hearken to fundamental principles. In terms of Indian gaming in California, there is a fundamental principle. That fundamental principle is reservation shopping. In other words, trying to establish yourself on other than your reservation property. That project is egregious violation of reservation shopping. The people around here have rejected that themselves. Further, it'll have a tremendous impact on other economic generating casinos in the area. Yes, we can do things about jobs, and what we do about jobs is getting the bureaucracy I spoke of earlier out of the way, and that's the biggest issue. This project, though, violates some fundamental premises and the trust of the people of California, who were told you would not have reservation shopping when they voted first to have gaming in California.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. CJ?
Yes. Before I came here today, I was looking at the unemployment rate of this area compared to US and compared to California. We are at 12.1%. Sutter County, 12.3%, Yuba County. Jobs, like I said before, is very important. And I said I have different plans, but if a rancheria could bring in some economy, create some jobs, that's what the way to go. And yes, Measure G failed 10 years ago, before the recession. But now we are still crippled with this recession. We need jobs in our backyard, and I would support. There may be some issues. We will work around with the legislature and, if necessary, with governor too. Thank you.
Senator Nielsen, you have up to 1 minute to rebut if you like.
This is looking at the micro issue of jobs. You want to look at the macro, you look at something like the water bond. We can vote for that would give us Sites Reservoir. Tremendous impact. That's why the operating engineers around here are so excited about that project. That's major. That's major. And jobs may be created around in this narrow area, but think about all of the other jobs and all of the other tribal gaming facilities in this area that will be lost. And in fact, if this continues in California, tribal gaming will diminish completely in California. This is at the best a band-aid approach, and it isn't taking the broader interest of this community in mind at all. We have many other things to do, such as get government out of the way of business.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have our next question starting with C.J. Jawahar, and this is from the audience. There is a Senate bill, SB 52, that relates to transparency in government. How would you vote on this?
Transparency, yes. Um, that's exactly I'm running. We in our country, in our California, we turn more laws than what we need, and that so the point is, I have seen legislation being enacted overnight, not giving enough time for people to realize what they are going to inherit from session after session after session. Is not presented in the right way. They are not being informed in the right way. So we really need to have a better transparency. And when I get there, I work harder to bring in more transparency, especially my constituents informed. Thank you.
Jim Nielsen.
The way you bring transparency, ladies and gentlemen, is to ensure that the people are in control and you have government being open. California legislature over my few years back have clearly shown me that regard for the rules have diminished and transparency has diminished. Now the good news is the water bond was very transparent. It was very bipartisan, very thoroughly aired over the whole course of the year. But the groundwater legislation was not, stuck in at the last minute. Another terrible thing that affects our local school district boards of directors and their prudent reserves, stuck in at the last minute. Knowing the legislative process as I do, I am the foremost critic when these rules are disobeyed and transparency is circumvented on your behalf. Legislators themselves do not even know what they're voting on, let alone how can they represent you. And I am the one, if you listen on the TV channel, am always criticizing and being the conscience of that legislature.
And you have a minute for rebuttal, CJ.
Thank you. He brought out two legislation. One is the underground water, and there's a water bond. I'm surprised he got into the Senate 2013 January. I am his constituent. I haven't seen one letter about water bond or a groundwater regulation. He is in there. I would expect him to come up to inform the constituents. So that's what about the transparency. I'm an engineer. I have ways to look up on a daily basis, but there are thousands and thousands of constituents. They have no idea what's going on in the Senate or for that matter in the Assembly. So it is the job, and I believe it's the job of the legislator to inform periodically, not go to them to get votes at the end of the term. Thank you.
Angel?
All right, so now we'll begin back again with Senator Nielsen. Our state, California, has the third worst tax climate of any state in the nation. What taxes on businesses would you look at reducing? And what incentives might you propose?
The taxes on business, the nearly 60 billion tax increase that unfortunately in Prop 30 a few years ago rather, the voters were kind of duped into voting for. That's a huge one. And you know who they're really hitting? They're talking about taxing the rich. That's the couple who are entrepreneurs, who invest and start to build a business. And they reach that $250,000 threshold, and all of a sudden they're the rich, and we're going to soak it to them. That's what your government has done for us. The bigger challenge are not the taxes as much, which we need to oppose. Government does not need more money. Let me tell you that, gentlemen and ladies. It does not need more money. But there in the legislature, through the bureaucracy, even without the control of the legislators, is through fees and fines been given authority to shift the burden from taxes even to fees and fines. That's the insidious side of this bureaucracy that I condemn, because they're ripping our pocketbooks off too.
CJ?
Thank you. Just want to quote one example, the Tesla. Okay, so what is the limit? How much is too much? We offered them $350 million. Guess what Nevada gave them? $1.2 billion. So it's about, balancing how much we can afford to give and how much we really get back to the community from the industries. So that's what is very key when we talk about giving the tax break. We gave tax breaks to the movie companies in terms of the enterprise zones, in terms of big corporations. But what's happening is they come in here and then they go away. Where they go, where they lodge their cash, you don't know that. So before even talking about the tax breaks, we need to really have a policy. How much are we going to get back from those investment is what, especially having failed with Tesla. Thank you.
Senator Nielsen, would you like a minute to rebut?
Well, I'm not interested in giving government more money so we can get more money back in our pockets. Let's leave the money in our pockets and not get it filtered through government and sopped off funding a huge bureaucracy of people. That's not the way to do business. What we need to do is to encourage the individual entrepreneurship, the individual worker and citizen to be able to have more of their paycheck, more of their payroll that they can devote to creating more jobs, reinvesting in their own business. No, we don't need to be worried about how much we get back from government. Clearly, we are not getting back what we are putting into government now. We are getting oppression from our government. We need to take it in the other direction.
We have two questions from the audience that are very similar, asking about how AB 109 is working, where the counties are getting state prisoners. Is it working? Is it not working? And if it's not, how would you change it? C.W. Jawahar, or C.J., excuse me.
Thank you. It's been a very critical question. I've been following AB 109 ever since it was enacted in late 2011. It's not working. Unfortunately, that's one idea. Governor Brown thought it would work, but that medicine is not working. It's the time to change it. I'm working very closely with Placer County jail system. We have a non-governmental organization, and I know what's happening. The prisoners have been diverted into the jail system, where the jail cannot handle that population for a very long time. The jails are meant for very short period, not like prisons. So what we can do now that we inherited. So I always advocated for criminal justice reform. We need to nail this at the root. Okay, we need to stop populating the prison and then diverting to the county jails. Thank you.
Jim Nielsen?
Well, I mentioned my long experience as chairman of the Board of Prison Terms, so I take this to heart. and I've long been the critic, the constructive critic, because there are other ways than this mass relief of unrehabilitated felons into our communities where the rehabilitative facilities are not available to them. And the lawsuits are following right out into our jails from the state prisons. AB 109 needs to be changed. The courts did not say release this crime wave and destroy justice, turn justice upside down, take away criminals being punished for their crime. No, that's not the answer. The answer is accountability, early intervention with our youth, more community treatment, yes, but don't release these individuals until that community treatment is available, and do not destroy accountability, meaning if you do a crime, you pay a price. Now you don't pay a price. AB 109 needs to be significantly modified by the legislature and supported by the governor, or we the people will take it back with an initiative to do so in the near future.
CJ, do you have rebuttal?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we have a Proposition 47 on the ballot this November 7. Probably that's a good place to start. A partial criminal justice reform. What that says is, okay, look at the crime, look at the risk factor before you even make that as a felony or a misdemeanor. Okay, so you make that judgment right there before you populate the person. If you find there's a low risk offenders, rehabilitate them and give all the training they need, educate them, and just gradually you put them back into the community. So the kind of a win-win situation. So they integrated into the community rather keeping them in a longer period of time, both in the jail and the prison. Thank you.
All right. One of you mentioned the enterprise zone, and I think this is one of those cases where the baby went out with the bathwater, because some places weren't utilizing it well, but I believe that our area was, and that's the enterprise zone program, which ended about 2 years ago in California. Yuba-Sutter had one of the largest zones in the state with hundreds of businesses eligible for tax benefits. What is your opinion of the enterprise zone demise, and do you see bringing something again that could potentially replace the enterprise zone? We'll start with Senator Nielsen.
Yes, I was a part of that reform, and the enterprise zones were taken away in no small measure because of their abuse. Not by communities such as this one, but throughout the state, Northern California, East and West, Southern California, enterprise zones were abused. And as a part of that, the exercise of eminent domain, seizure of private property without adequate compensation. I'm the founder of the California Alliance to Protect Private Property Rights. That was an issue we were very, very much involved in. Enterprise zones have gone to the wayside, but a new construct of that can happen. But it cannot be built on the same model of enterprise zones where the abuses happen. And such things as designation of blight, that cannot be a part of the deal for the eminent domain seizure. So prospectively, ever how they are reconstructed in whatever way, some of those abuses have got to be curbed, or I will not entertain any new enterprise zones.
CJ?
Ever since we abolished the enterprise zone, what is impacted is the local revitalization. So all those, I'm from Roseville, so I'm looking at the Roseville as an example. When you look at the downtown, it's completely deserted. If we had some money to revitalize that, to bring in appropriate business into the town of Roseville, I'm sure that is true for Marysville, that is true for Yuba City, across the state, in the district too. I agree. Enterprise zone had issues, pitfalls, but did we pay enough attention to what around those issues? I guess not. I think we need to bring that back in a graceful way to benefit the community, to bring in more jobs, especially to build those downtowns. It's so painful to see them disintegrating. Thank you.
Senator Nielsen, did you have anything else to add?
One of the biggest problems with the enterprise zones was the vast accumulation of these reserves, obscene, which in itself was a big tax increase, and a shift of the property tax to this entity that exercised its powers in a I would say, very irresponsible way. No, we can come back with some forms of enterprise zones. I'm the architect in the 80s of what was called rural renaissance, kind of a model for local community development that was compatible and helpful to agriculture and resources. We can do that, but we've got to curb the excesses like that incredible accruing of vast reserves and a shift of that property tax to another entity. Give it back to the schools. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. I'd like to mention that a couple of questions have been turned in which duplicate questions we've already had. We had somebody just turn in a question on SB 52, which we dealt with a few minutes ago, so I apologize. Another question from the audience. Please talk about what, if anything, needs to be changed within the California Public Employees Retirement System. Address both long-term sustainability and the need to continue to attract well-qualified public employees. CJ?
Thank you. So, as Senator mentioned, we have the Prop 2, which is a rainy day fund primarily designed to pay back the debt, long-term and short-term, and the liabilities. We have about $350 billion liabilities from the pension. So we've been talking about doing reforms, right? But it's been protected by the Constitution. That is a framework. I respect that. But there are ways to work around that. That's what is happening right now. We are asking for more contribution towards the funds, pension funds from the employees, stopping buying the airtime. And there are multiple other ways to bring down the liabilities and paying back from the rainy fund as we go forward. Thank you.
Jim?
A discipline of the legislature to not spend is a part of it, okay? But in terms of what we need to curb it, okay? It's happened at all levels. The spiking, the continuing increase. Now, anyone who now has a pension, that's sacred. You cannot change that. You're not going to change the Constitution to achieve that. We dare not do that, compromise. But moving forward, the individual employee will have to assume a greater burden. Absolutely. In terms of their pension, in terms of their health care. That's going to be a part of it. And government at all levels needs to be more disciplined in terms of how much we do allow increases. One of the problems we have at local government level is pegging the local salary increase to the 5 highest other cities or counties in California. That kind of a formula is a formula for disaster because we have cities like San Francisco that are almost unlimited in what they're giving out to their employees. Yes, jobs in state government are good, but we cannot make them so good that we bankrupt the state.
CJ, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes, sir. This is my philosophy. Whoever serves the community, the society must be rewarded when they get old, period. There is no doubt about it. We are all on board with that. We all agree to it. But how much is a question. And he brought it out. Like I said before, more contribution towards the pension fund from the individual is going to eventually bring down the liabilities and reduce the spike, double dipping. We really need to look at the double dipping. And all those cumulatively going to help us get out of the liability of the pension system. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, Mark Twain once said that whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting. And right now, Yuba County is preparing for the 2016 relicensing of the new Bullets Bar reservoir, hopefully successfully retaining control of the sale of water and power from the reservoir, which could mean $200 million in revenue for the county. But it's likely that the state's going to try to wrestle control of the Bullets Bar water away from the county. How do we stop the water grab? Senator Nielsen?
Well, obviously, you exert every bit of influence that you can legislatively to stop that takeover. The state ought not be in the business of running Bullard's Bar, okay? That has worked for a very, very long time. The state wants to, and that FERC licensing process is very complicated. That's a federal process, and we can input that, but we don't necessarily control it. We'll work with our local Congress people to do that, and then we can directly communicate as well in that FERC process. But the state's going to have enough on its hands dealing with Sites Reservoir and Temperance Flat. it has no business getting into asserting its authority in something that already works in Yuba County extraordinarily well. It's a model, in fact, for California, what they've done in that district.
CJ?
While we're talking about the water grab, it occurs to me, before even we talk about the water grab, I think we need to talk about the water rights. Between 1914 and today, we issue like 12,000 water rights for 350 million acre feet, but on a regular basis. On a normal year, we get only 70 million acre water. So the problem is, how are we going to stop that before even we talk about the grab? Talking about the grab, not necessarily the government, the individual well owner, the owner who owns the well is now who is the one selling the water from one county to another county. So that's exactly when we are going to do what we are going to do with the groundwater regulation. So all these combined would reduce, not necessarily the government is grabbing, if I'm right. Thank you.
Senator Nielsen, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, the water grab, in terms of the state getting control of our groundwater, that has historically been a private property right in the purview of local government. Local governments have the full capability and have consistently demonstrated their ability to manage that. If you give that control to the state, even your domestic well is going to be vulnerable, ladies and gentlemen. That's something we've got to be vigilant about, and as this groundwater legislation is implemented, we have to be very wary about it. Yes, water rights are sacred, but they have been attacked in court decisions and by the legislature of late. Even pre-1914 and senior water rights as well as junior water rights have been challenged just in the last few months by the State Water Resources Control Board under legislation that I've vigorously opposed and will continue to work to see backed off and repealed and to ensure that those water rights are not taken away from us. That is a property right, that water under your property.
Thank you.
Yeah, and going back to follow up a question that was given earlier, we had a member of the audience say, what jobs? And let's phrase it this way, looking specifically at the 4th Senate District and more specifically, Yuba-Sutter, Colusa, Southern Butte counties, our area. What good paying jobs, not minimum wage, but good paying jobs are most appropriate for this district? And how do you propose to attract those companies?
Well, part of it was what the dream that I had in the 80s of rural renaissance, and that was to bring businesses into the rural communities that were compatible and that would enhance agriculture and resource. In those years, we found out that, and high-tech had not really taken off much yet then, but high-tech jobs are really possible. And I think we can attract some high-tech companies into our local communities. We already have. Reading is an example, where they find that the lifestyle and the cost of living is such that they can put their plants in our areas, at least some of their productivity. In addition, one of the greatest beneficiaries of rural renaissance of the 80s was agritourism, a subset of agriculture, and that's a big deal around here now. The farmers markets, the little markets where we direct market our products, our agricultural industry in this area has significantly prospered and kept healthy because of that direct marketing that was been facilitated in this new approach.
I failed to direct the question. CJ was supposed to get it first. I apologize. CJ, go ahead, and you have 1 minute to give your answer.
Thank you for the observation. Like I said before, there's rural jobs and urban jobs. When I say rural jobs, we have to bring jobs which will coexist with the agricultural background. Just to give you an example, about a year ago, West Sacramento, they brought in 4 shops, international shops, into their backyard. 2 from Japan, 1 from Norway, another from Spain. So that brought in about a $5 billion worth of manufacturing products and jobs. And how much they produce? Very little. Where they get the produce from? Around us. So we need to liaison to bring such kind of shops in our backyard to coexist with our agricultural produces. So that's what I would do. I would do as your legislator. Thank you.
Jim Nielsen, do you want to rebut that?
No, we've got it covered.
Okay.
All right, well, Energy independence is a huge issue. Where do you stand on A, offshore oil drilling, B, fracking, and C, nuclear power generation? CJ, we'll start with you.
Offshore, yes, that's a known phenomenon across the world. I come from a region where drilling is common as long as we don't mess with the water. Fracking, hell no. I've been proponent of not advocating fracking mainly because of the water requirement. If they show me a good technology to extract shale oil, I'm all for that. As your legislator, I would support, but not the fracking technology, especially though it involves water. And about the nuclear, I'm an engineer. I know what it takes to generate power from the nuclear, but primarily the safety, especially in California, having seen what happened to the NEPA about a week ago, I would not suggest. I would not go in that direction, but a renewable energy is another possible area we should explore. We have a target 2020. We want to have 30% of our energy from renewable, like windmill, solar, and etc. Thank you.
Jim?
Offshore oil must be a part of our future. Tranquillian Ridge off the south coast, slant drilling was even something that environmental groups supported. That could have happened 4 years ago in the budget. It didn't. We need to keep that on track. Fracking, shale extraction, I think that is a safe technology that can be improved, but we should not cut that out of the energy basket as well. Nuclear power, I don't see that being a part of the future. Not that it couldn't be helpful, as it is in many, many countries. But right now, I don't think in America that there's going to be the will to proceed with that source. Also, I would add that hydropower is the least expensive power, and we need to do more of that. The water bond does continue some monies for some small impoundments that could generate a few megawatts that would be helpful to us. And we must not forget that power generation from water. That's the most efficient and economic source of power for all of us.
CJ, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. So, Senator Nielsen and I agree on two, and we differ on one. I need to explain why I'm against fracking. So we are in a continuous drought for 30 years now. I'm sure by now you all know how much water is involved in extracting the shale oil. Billions and billions of gallons of water, not just water, mixed with toxic chemicals. Now, the problem with that is, what do you do with that kind of a water after the fact you extracted the oil? So that's going to be wasted. Where are you going to store the water? Are you going to put the water back into your aquifer? Never. So it is insane. Right? So that is why I'm against. So until we find a neat technology to extract the shale oil, fracking is not the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's start with Jim Nielsen. And as both of you know, there's a lot of waste in state government. A huge example of waste is that California has some 500 boards, commissions, and agencies, many with high-paid salaries. Governor Schwarzenegger, some decade ago, had a panel that produced a thick report on government waste, which included many of these boards, commissions, and agencies being done away with. He ended up shelving the project. Is there any hope of re-examining where we can deeply slash the cost of government operation? Senator Nielsen?
That's always the goal, and in fact, that reform did have some value. Some of the boards and commissions were eliminated. Okay, that was a great victory, but that was a Pyrrhic victory because there was not much that got changed, not a substantial amount of our budget. The irony to that, the most egregiously offending agency of government, that is the Department of Corrections, which used to be top light, management light, and bottom heavy, all of a sudden got blown up. That was one of his boxes that got blown up. Well, all of a sudden it became both top heavy and bottom heavy. That part of the reform did not work, and I'm the number one critic of that, and can tell you how we can change that within the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Vigilance within the budget process, and even in these tough times, not enough has been accomplished in terms of paring back state agencies, and that's where I use the bully pulpit as a member of the Budget Committee and as Vice Chairman to do that very thing and to hold back the numbers of jobs that are packed in to state government.
CJ Jawahar.
Now that we balanced the budget, this is the right time to talk about the agencies. But before we even get there, I just want to bring this up. About a couple of years ago, millions and millions of dollars were invested in some of the programs run by these different agencies. I hoped senators and assembly people in the legislature to take a close look at it and stop. I was wondering why anyone would want to allow that kind of money to be spent and then shelve the programs. So that is totally unacceptable. So when I get there as an engineer, I believe I have the capacity to take a closer look at what is being proposed, whether it's possible, what kind of a risk analysis been done, not not after the fact to spend $1 billion and shelve the program. Thank you.
Jim Nielsen, do you have a rebuttal?
Well, the way we can start, folks, is we don't need a speed train. We don't need peripheral tunnels. That'll eventually cost us up to $150 billion. There are not many people going to want to jump on a train going between Merced and Bakersfield, let me tell you. It's a product of that valley, and there's not going to haul any freight. That's $350 million a year out of the state budget alone, just for that small portion of unelectrified rail for which there's not even a locomotive that can pull it right now. And other things, the excesses. I disclosed two departments. One was corrections, another was mental health last year, that took $350 million and redirected it from what the legislature and the governor said they should spend it on, and tried to spend it on overtime and accumulated annual leave to pay that off. So they don't get control of annual leave, and they don't get control of our overtime, and then they shift $300 million. We stopped that in the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. We have time for one more question.
One more question. Here we go. Let's talk about passion. What are you most passionate when it comes to solving a problem in the 4th Senate District? What is that problem? And please elaborate on the solution. We'll start with CJ.
When I decided to run for this office, I was looking at this the census report from 2011, especially the demography, so how economically, how better off we are. Looking at the numbers, this is what I saw. We, as a Senate District 4, share just 1% of California's $500 billion manufacturing output, this 8-county region. And that is why we have 1 in 5 people live below poverty line. When I say people will not like that, they might say this guy is talking negative, but that is a truth, sole truth, right? So what are we going to do about it? Bringing jobs. And I already told you how we are going to bring in the job. Beyond bringing the job, caring of those people who are suffering. Anybody can get to that situation no time because they don't have job. Thank you.
Jim?
My passion is and always has been empowering the citizens so that we are control of our government. We are the key and most important voice. Showing individuals and citizens how to be involved, how to fight back the excesses of their government, to rein in that government, to make it be efficient and effective, to ensure that we are protected in our homes and that justice is preserved. And by the way, that sentencing reform initiative is a disaster in terms of justice and public safety because it's going to allow very dangerous people to get away with it. That is my passion, to ensure that we, the citizens, are in control of our government, that we are empowered, and that we are protected by the government that serves us.
CJ, did you have anything to add?
Speaking about the proposition, it's about petty theft and low aberration. We don't need to lock them behind the prison forever. And coming back to the passion, we have heard of food stamp, we have heard of food bank. Have you heard of food desert, where you have no help? Like I said before, I was listening to someone who used to be a nurse. Unfortunately, she lost her job. But now she is in a food desert. There's no food bank. There is no. So we need to support for them to fight back. I am with him, but in order to fight back, they need the support. A temporary support is what we are here to give those people, the suffering people. That's about the passion. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank both candidates for their comments, and we're going to start our closing statements. Each candidate has up to 2 minutes for the closing statement, and we'll start with C.J. Jawahar.
Thank you. I really enjoyed about 45 minutes of our conversation here. I would thank Senator Nielsen. First time our road crossed in the 6 8 month long campaign trail. Thank you so much, and I would like to thank Yuba-Sutter chambers and you voters. I was looking at, as a constituent, as a voter in the district, what I am getting from my legislator. My legislator got into the Senate 2013, and I was looking at what exactly he brought into this district. Out of 22, it's all public. I mean, you can take a look at all that our senator did for us. There's only one legislation that was chaptered. Everything else either gone back to the SOS office or there is no history. Okay, so my question is, where are we going from here? You heard me saying multiple things. I may not given you complete answer for all the questions. It's not about question and answer. Like you said, the last question is about passion. Where do we want to go from here? This water bond could have been talked long ago. These job creations could have been talked long ago. The school bond could have been talked long ago. There has been long silence. That is my question. Why? That's why I'm running C.J. Jawahar for State Senate 4th District with your support. I'm here to pass your voice in the Senate, in the Assembly, and in the legislature. Thank you.
Jim Nielsen.
You did not send me to Sacramento to introduce bills. We do not need more laws, ladies and gentlemen. I purposely discipline myself not to carry very many laws because we're wasting your time deliberating on all these silly laws, and I can give you a whole litany of those laws. What you did send me there is to fight on your behalf. You ask anybody that keeps an eye on the legislature out here in the 4th District, all over California or in Sacramento, who stands up, who's speaking out all of the time on behalf of the citizens, on behalf of a conscience for the legislature to obey its own very own rules. I'm a farmer. I'm used to the handshake deal. I'm used to looking people in the eye. And when you see me talking, there's no transparency, there's no duplicitousness at all. I say what I mean and mean what I say. And you'll hear my point of view, even if we disagree. That's part of the deal. First time, again, we've had the occasion to meet. I'm delighted that Mr. Jawahar has decided to throw his hat into the ring. And you can see here that there can be collegial conversation. Some differences, more agreement. That's the way it can work in Sacramento, notwithstanding. And that's how you get around partisanship. You find the things that you have in common. And then what's your fundamental belief? You fight for it with full vigor. And fighting for the North State has been a career objective of mine, but empowering the citizens so that they are truly the bosses, to be their voice, to be their forceful conscience in Sacramento and all over. I spend 2,000 to 4,000 miles, or expend 2,000 to 4,000 miles on my car every month, and have all of the years that I've served traveling around the now 12 counties. It'll be 9 by next year, and the 19 counties I've represented throughout my career. Being in touch with the public is the most important thing, and we put out a lot of information on our website, daily communications. Read your local newspaper. You'll see what we're doing. We're working for you every day.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to take about a 10-minute break. We'll resume just before 7:05. And again, we'd like to mention, if you're turning in questions, we only have time for about 6 questions, maybe 7, for the city council candidates. So again, we already have about 7 or 8 questions turned in for the City Council, so please understand that. We'll get back to the forum here in just about 8 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of our forum this evening, sponsored by the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, the Appeal Democrat, and KUBA Radio. And our second forum is candidates for Yuba City City Council. And you know the game 20 questions? Well, we now have 21 questions between the prepared questions and the questions from the audience. So please do not be offended if we're not able to get to your questions, because we only have time for 6 or 7 questions of the candidates to stay within our 1-hour format. So first of all, we'll talk about the format, and this is a little bit different than the previous one just because of time. We're going to try to speed things up a little bit with 5 candidates. There'll be a 2-minute opening statement from each candidate, a 1-minute answer to each question, and of course, the person being asked the question first will have time for a 30-second rebuttal rather than a minute as we had for the previous forum, and then a 2-minute closing statement. And once again, if you'd like to run through your, Jackie, run through your cards there. You got a 30-second card, a 15-second card, and a time's up card. Did I miss something? Did you have an extra one? Oh, so please stick to the time limits, and if you can make your answers even briefer, that'd be great. But the faster we can go, the more questions we can get in. So we're going to start off our opening statement with Jason Reichard, and you have up to 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Wow, I was really hoping I wouldn't be first. I'm really nervous. I am going to be your candidate for city council, and I'm going to be your people's candidate. I'm going to listen to you guys. That's my big thing, and I'm going to be your voice. I'm not happy with the way things are going. I know a lot of people out there aren't happy with the way things are going. We need to have a voice to be heard on our city council. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get back to the people are going to run the government again, not the government running the people. That's pretty much all I have. I'm not a big speaker. I'm not a politician. I'm just a citizen.
Okay, thank you. Stan Cleveland.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the people today. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Yuba City for holding the forum. 8 years ago, I ran for supervisor. I do have a history. I do have a record of serving the people. I would like to give a little accounting of that from when I first ran. My original flyer, open and accountable and responsive. I've proven that. Elected official, put your interests above their own. I have proven that. Strong law enforcement and fire protection, successful and proven that. Cooperative between cities and our county to solve our traffic congestion problems. And as much as we could, we have worked together to start Highway 99 and then recognize that while Sutter County was going to get the Highway 99 fixed first, outside of the county limits, the city limits, it was agreed through a meeting and a cooperative meetings that Yuba City would come next, and then we would solve the problems of Highway 99 access. Financial support for levee districts and their flood prevention efforts. That is an absolutely unquestionable success at federal, state, and local level. I was the 2010 representative, and actually with our water resources director, we came up with the idea of the accelerated feasibility study that was used to be the pilot program for the nation. He was a great mentor in that, and I thank him very much, Dan Peterson, for having mentored me to become actually also a certified floodplain manager with FEMA, so that I could go inside the committees, actually talk with them. And they actually invited me to speak because I wasn't just a politician. I was part of the solution. Creation of an industrial corridor along Highway 99. These things are said to point out that I've already been doing what is also needs to be done within Yuba City, and to continue these efforts to make it happen. Thank you.
Preet Didball.
Good evening. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Yuba-Sutter Chamber, the Appeal Democrat, and KUBA for putting together this forum. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to be here and to support us. So thank you very much. My name is Preet Deadball. Born and raised right here in Yuba City. I've attended all of our local schools. Yes, I'm proud to say I am a honker, and my daughter is proud to say she is a falcon. As a young child, I worked our local farms here, peaches and prunes for the most part, and I also worked in our local canneries. Harder Packing was one of them. And I don't eat ketchup to this day because of what I saw in there. So and my daughter will never understand that. I went on to pursue my associate, my bachelor's, as well as my master's in public administration with a concentration on health. I've been a planning commissioner here for 10 years, 2 years with Sutter County, 8 years with the city, 2 of the last years right now, and currently I'm the chair. I've also been in management and administration, including HR, budgets, contracts, succession, and strategic planning, the last 16 years with Department of Corrections as well as Department of Real Estate. I've been with the Economic Development Advisory Group for Yuba City, both in 2008 as well as this year. And I am ready to make a bigger contribution to this place, to Yuba City. It has given me, my family, an opportunity to grow and be prosperous and successful in our own means. It has provided my family and myself a safe haven and a place that I will always call home. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with you tonight.
Thank you. John Buckland is the incumbent.
Thank you, Bob. And I want to thank the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. I should know better. I'd like to thank the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, the Appeal Democrat, and KUBA for hosting this forum. In addition, the other candidates that are here that you get to hear from tonight and vet their responses and their involvement in the community. And I thank each of you for taking time out of your night to be here. The vision of guiding Yuba City is simple. We have a mission plan, and that's to anticipate and provide for the needs of the community through quality service, through innovation and leadership today and into the future. The execution of the vision isn't as simple as the statement is itself. And that's where leadership and clear direction to staff gets a high level of service to each of you. Projects that I led in the last 4 years include opening of the Feather River Parkway, gaining funding for the Phase 2 project of the Feather River Parkway. It's currently on fire, just in case anybody saw the smoke down there. The Midtown Sewer Replacement and Relocation Project, the Franklin Waterline Extension Project all the way out past Franklin School, and securing unprecedented water of origin agreements with the state of California and the Department of Water Reclamation. We've secured those rights through 2035, impacted by our current drought. And we opened the new Sutter County, or the Sutter Animal Services Facility, and additionally I secured a $17.1 million grant for our Fifth Street Bridge replacement project. I enjoy the countless hours that I get to spend with the community, meeting with businesses, with liberal groups, with conservative groups, and my time's up. But the most of all, I like meeting with all of you on your front lawns and just talking about what the business of Yuba City is. I look forward to representing you for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Daria Alley.
Good evening. My name is Daria Ali, and I also want to begin by thanking the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, the Appeal Democrat, KUBA, and especially the City of Yuba City for using us this evening for their first streaming on to YouTube. What a fun experience for us. We can go back and critique ourselves. I am an ambassador for the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, and so I would like to just say that for the past 3 or 4 campaign series, I have co-chaired this event. So it's a real pleasure to be on this side of the forum and to be here representing and looking to be your city council person. I'm a financial representative with Modern Woodman Fraternal Financial, which is a debt-free company with over $11 billion in assets. I like working for companies that are debt-free and that manage money fiscally conservatively. I'm also the executive director for Shady Creek Outdoor Education Foundation and work to raise funds to send our students to Shady Creek and provide access for students to that outdoor science camp, which many of you may remember as Woodleaf. It's now Shady Creek. As I mentioned, I'm an ambassador for the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. I'm the past chair of the ambassadors, and for the past 2 consecutive years, the Ambassador of the Year, which is given to me as an award for the countless hours that I put into our community. I have outside a handout that lists just some of the highlights of what I've been involved in this past year. I'd like to share those with you. My vision for Yuba City is, as I am also a planning commissioner, is to have this be a wonderful place to live, to lead our community in employment opportunities, and now my time's up, so I'm sure we'll get to those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to mention, now that everybody is in the room and seated, that tonight's forum is being streamed live on YouTube through the city's YouTube channel, youtube.com/YubaCityCA. It's also being recorded and will be available, I guess, tonight later on that channel. Also, within 3 days, the Appeal Democrat website will have their own video of this forum and our earlier one this evening available on their website. So plenty of opportunities in a couple of different ways for people to see tonight's forum. So please spread the word. We're going to start our first question. Again, each candidate has 1 minute to answer the question, and the candidate answering first gets a 30-second rebuttal after the other 4 have answered. So we'll start.
All right, we'll start with Stan. The Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation. By the way, this is a question from someone out in the audience. The Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation is a vital component for business and commercial growth in our community. Currently, Yuba City is not a member of this corporation. Should Yuba City be a participating member, and what actions would you take regarding this issue, or if you are incumbent, what actions have you taken regarding this issue? Stan, we'll start with you.
Well, I've already been in conversations with the Economic Development Officer of Yuba City to try to work out a way that there could be 2 approaches to economic development, because there aren't just one path to travel on that. Yuba County uses their own Economic Development Officer, and they are also a part of the Yuba-Sutter EDC. I think working from all sides and all opportunities are absolutely necessary to be successful. So a partnership is together will be necessary. I will continue to, one of the problems also of not being a part of the EDC, which is a part of the EDA, which is the national organization, is that most of the funds available to a community aren't available unless you're a member. So I think it's very important that Yuba City very seriously look at rejoining and participating in getting funds that are not available at this time to them, tapping into another source that's necessary.
Preet?
As far as the economic development, it is critical that we play a high role in that in order to create the jobs. We need to have open communication, cut out the red tape, and get straight to business. I know we've always been indicated to be tough on being business friendly. We need to open those doors, lay out the red carpet for businesses to come in. Just as on the planning commission, we get items in there, and we always indicate the process tends to be a little bit long. So when the businesses come in, they'll be looking at various areas such as healthcare, the unemployment rate in our area. They also look at the education values. So those are all things when we look at economic development, we need to ensure that we look at the quality of our entire community in order to bring those businesses and attract them here. I think we're starting to get out of time, but definitely open the doors for businesses to ask the questions, lead them way, answer their questions, and move on.
John?
You know, Yuba City was part of the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation. Yuba City was voted to be removed by the current board from that body. And it was done after the 2008 downturn in the economy, in which Yuba City chose to spend money in different ways to fund its economic development opportunities. As a result, when I became mayor, I pulled together a meeting, and in that meeting, I brought in the executive director, brought in staff from Yuba City, and learned very quickly in a 2-hour, very difficult meeting to sit through that there was no interest from the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation members to have Yuba City back on. We will do everything we can. We will continue to try to become part of that body in the future, and we will move forward towards that effort. I will promise you that I will continue to work on that program.
Daria?
I have met with the director of the EDC, the Yuba-Sutter EDC, and much of what is being discussed as having occurred with the break several years ago was also prior to her term there. So I think that there is an opportunity for Yuba-Sutter EDC and Yuba City Economic Development to collaborate to move our community together, further it more effectively than perhaps it has been in that juncture. So I agree with what John is saying, that there is opportunity but there is that opportunity to move forward and bring them back together, perhaps.
Jason?
Every time we talk about this, we talk about committees and more committees and this kind of thing. I think we need to go back to our business owners, our developers. We always hear of things coming to Yuba City that they come and look, oh, we're going to get this. We don't see it. Why is that? I think we need to ask ourselves a serious question: what is going on at City Hall, and what is going on there that people come, look around, and then they leave and nothing ever happens? And we need to talk to our local business owners. I have been doing this and asking them what is keeping them here and what is driving them away. And this is something we need to do. We need to get these people in a room and figure out what is going to entice them to stay and draw new businesses here. Economic development, I don't think we need to go outside of our city for more economic development. We know what we need here. The businesses that are here know what we need here. And I think that's a better way to go than going outside and getting something from somebody here, somebody that doesn't live here. I think we need to get back to our city and ask them the question. Thank you.
All right, and Stan, would you like to add anything to that?
The only thing I
30
would have,
seconds, please.
thank you. The only thing I would have to say here is that the local EDC is made up of local business representatives and government electeds. It's a good combination. We would like, I know I'm sitting on it, and I have done outreach to try to find out how to bring Yuba City back before I even thought of running for city council. Trying to find the paths to make that happen. And I fully expect that within 2 years, we will be back together, bigger, better, and stronger. Thank you.
Our next question is for Preet. Another question from the public. Although reportedly getting a little bit better, there are reports that the working relationship between the city and county has been less than what it should be. How important is a smooth running, open relationship, and what can be done to improve it?
Absolutely. We need that communication between the county as well as the city. I know all of the Board of Supervisors as being a planning commissioner there back in 2004 and continued those open doors and been in touch with Supervisor Munger, Jim Whitaker, and so on to keep the doors open. We talk about issues. If there are any issues that we need to talk about, those doors need to continue to stay open. We are a collaboration. We're within that county, and those doors need to stay open for a better quality of life for all citizens within Sutter County as well as within the city.
John Buckland.
You know, cooperation is everything, especially when you're in Sutter County. It's a small county. We have 95,000 people, 63,000 live inside the city. We need to have a cooperative opportunity between both Yuba City and Sutter County. As mayor, I met with the chairman of the board of the Sutter County Supervisors, Mr. Jim Whitaker, and we put together a joint meeting of the Yuba City Council and the supervisors. That was a very productive meeting. At the end of about 2 hours, we were able to come to some resolutions where we could move forward jointly, where we could support each other, where we would continue to support each other. Some of the stalemating that has happened is just, it's almost a ridiculous turn of events. And when we finally work things out, like with Sutter County Animal Services Authority, when we finally work it out, the building ends up costing millions of dollars more. We got that done. I came on, we had that building up and ready to roll in 3 years. So I look forward to doing more work with Sutter County.
Daria Ali.
Thank you, Bob. The city and the county have had a strained relationship, and it has had moments when it's improved. And the challenge of the shelter was one of those that's of recent significance to our community. I think it's important that we keep communication open, and that the meetings that were mentioned by John occur on a more regular basis to bring and bridge that gap that is occurring. Because Yuba City is 2/3 of the population of the county, it's an important and vital voice in what needs to happen for the city. And it's also important, from my perspective, to look at the broader regional concept of our county and our other areas here that can help to move our economy forward.
Jason Reichard.
I am total agreement with that. We really need to work together with our county, and we have to get that under control to where that's the way we're going to bring business back, is we need to bring the county and the city together. I mean, I'm not going to beat it to death because obviously we're all in agreement that we have to work together. That's all I've got.
Dan?
Miscommunication and misunderstanding is always the crux of the matter. Regulations governing a county are much more stringent, since we are a direct division of the corporation, a municipal corporation of a state. Cities do not have the restrictions and regulations that counties have. Part of the misunderstanding had to do with the whole JPA understanding that the level you have to do is step up to the next level. Once that was understood, many of the things that we were discussing went away. We were able to get on the same page. While there was still some difficulties involved in that, dealing with employees, we were able to finally work those out, and over the next couple of years, those ideas or those leftover situations will be completely eliminated. But I think it's just miscommunication mostly is what ends up happening.
And Preet, do you have anything further?
Not really. I think we're just all echoing the same thing, is pretty much open doors, open communication. It's a better way of running a business, running a city, running a county. It's clear. That's what we need to do, and I think we're going to be on the right page. We continue to do that. We'll make the right decisions.
Okay, thank you. Angel?
All right, this time we'll start with you, John. And this question comes from the audience. How do you propose to deal with the city's unfunded liability in its retirement system? Are you in favor of setting realistic age restrictions or reducing benefits? And do you believe that fire and police employees should be treated differently than other employees in the system?
Wonderful question, because the unfunded liability is part of doing business. It is part of the retirement system. We do need to attack this piece by piece. This is part of negotiations with employee groups, and we have peeled back some of what the PERS that we deal with, the Public Employees Retirement System. We have peeled back some of the extra added values to that. Police and fire have been absolutely forthcoming in making some of those reductions. The other employee groups have also done that. Management has done that. And I am very proud of the employee group here at Yuba City in making efforts to reduce and knowing that they need to reduce it. Come to tomorrow night's council meeting, you'll see what happened with police and fire. Are they being treated differently? Absolutely not. But please come and pay attention to potentially what we may pass for an employee concessions package.
Thank you. Daria?
Thank you, Angel. That's also a good question. How do I propose to deal with the unfunded liabilities? I've looked at the proposals and looked at the next 8 to 10 years that we are still going to be struggling with this issue. So do I have a swift answer to that question? Absolutely not. There's a lot of pieces that as a candidate, I am not in, I do not know all of those moving pieces. I am a financial representative. I am aware of pensions and funding pensions, and so I do bring that unique background to this. I've also dealt with $50 million budgets, which is very similar to Yuba City's budget, and so I think that that does qualify me to look at this from a different perspective once I have all the information in front of me. Do I think we'll change it with tomorrow night's vote? No.
Jason?
All right, so to that effect is you made a promise to the people. Anybody out there with a retirement understands that you can't take that away. And you're going to have to make concessions to pay that. But the fact of the matter is we don't need to continue it with new employees. New employees, you could drop off some and change what you're going to promise them later on in the future. That's what's going to happen. We cannot continue this with public employees to continue to promise and pay this ongoing. It's going to have to drop. But you cannot change what you've already promised. So we're going to have to find concessions to make those payments. But beyond that, as far as fire and police, it is a different entity. And I'm not going to make any friends with this, but the fact of the matter is it is a different entity, and they do put more on, a little bit more on the line. I believe they are entitled to a minimal amount more, but they are entitled to it, I believe. But like I say, everybody's going to cut back, so we're going to cut them back also, because we have to hold to the promises we've made, but change what we don't have to do anymore.
Stan?
At the county level, we have made significant changes to the pension available there, although some of them will not be able to be felt until the future. But the city and any agency can ask current employees to change their pension agreement. They don't have to agree to. They can ask to trade other benefits for changes. All these things need to be on the table. It's not just about the pension, it's the overall benefit package. We need to make sure that the benefit package is well balanced, that there are not things in that full benefit package that are unnecessary and frivolous, that actually make it more expensive than is necessary. Also, the state has made some movements and decisions that are going to implement many changes. I think it's by 2018 there will be implementation of those where the share will be much higher for the employees to be paying. So we are moving in that direction at the county and the city level. I think we will succeed.
Thank you. Pre?
I actually met with our budget officer within the city. I've actually met with our city managers to go over some of these numbers. And I was pleased to say when I sat down and actually crunched down some of those numbers that we do have light at the end of the tunnel from the projections that I saw. It looks like incrementally there is processes that are taking place. I know we may not see them up front, and it's hard. I myself have gone through furloughs, so I understand how difficult that is. But as far as providing and filling in for that unfunded liability, there's steps that are being taken. Negotiations are happening. Some of them are done. But what I saw today is down the road in a couple of years, hopefully all of this will be taken care of for the most part, and we can move forward and hopefully have a surplus after that. So that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I did look at the budget very closely.
John, did you have anything to add? 30 seconds.
I do have. We do have a split retirement system. With police alone, we moved their age from 50 for retirement to 55. For the miscellaneous employees, we moved them up from 55 to 60. These are all important issues in trying to peel back some of our unfunded liability. Again, there are so many things that we're doing, and we can't just exchange $1 for the next dollar. When we get a concession from the employees, we can't just turn around and under the table give it right back to them. That doesn't get us forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Daria, this question will start with you. Again, it's another question from the public. On September 2nd, the Yuba City Council voted to give a rate reduction to the city's businesses, but not to its residences for trash pickup. And I understand the county has agreed to do this arrangement as well. This is $1 million reduction that amounts to an average of $5.50 per business per month. Do you agree with this decision, or do you feel that the residents should have shared in the savings at an estimated 50 cents per month, Daria?
That's also a very good question, Bob. I have spoken to many sides of this issue. Recology was brought into this initially into the issue that there was a rate reduction. There have been standardized rates for some time now where there might be an increase or a decrease, but we don't see them as consumers. The $5.50 a month to the commercial businesses, having been a business owner and having had 2 storefronts and paid the CAM on 2 of them, the common area maintenance, I know that it's very difficult to pay all of those fees. And the $5.50 doesn't sound much, but it does add up when you have multiple sites. I do think that the city and the jurisdictions that were involved in that decision have looked at this very judiciously and are representing the city in this. Yes, I would like to see a reduction in my bill, but I think it would amount to $1 a month. So I don't see that as making a lot of difference.
Jason?
All right, it was 50 cents a month, and that equals to $6 a year. What we did get out of that was we did get a 1% turnaround to the city streets that's going to benefit all of us. I think that is a feasible rate to trade off to keep the street in front of your house looking nice and comparable. Granted, $6 a year is something, but is it enough to give up repairs to our streets? I don't think it is. And I think it was very well put forward by the staff and by our city council. That is something that they did that I actually agree with. I mean, it was a good turnaround for us. I think that's a good investment for $6 a month. I mean, $6 a year, excuse me, that we're going to not get back, that is going to keep our streets decent for the extra weight going down them.
Stan?
The application of this, which yes, the county agreed to also, is because the commercial rates have been heavy in the past. Many other agencies throughout the state also lean heavy on their commercial rates, and basically it's almost punishing the businesses on their rates. So the action agreed upon by the county and the city is a good first action. But the next time that something comes forward for a reduction, it must be across the board, because that should be the way it is, and it should be all, no matter if it's 50 cents or 30 cents, it should be equally divided out at that time. And so that's really all I have to say on that matter.
Preet?
Rates are a very complex issue. So when the officials have to look at what's going on and when there's a rate reduction, the whole picture has to be looked at. And in this case, the reduction on one side was helping another area. And so I'm full force in ensuring that our roads, streets, and so forth are taken care of. That's part of our community. It's the value that we put on our community to ensure that it's healthy in those regards. So when we do those type of rate reductions, everything has to be looked at. There are regulations and standards that have to play a part. But I think in this situation, when the big picture is taken a look at, we're actually putting those monies into the appropriate areas.
John?
Jason for agreeing with something that the council did on the second. That I do appreciate that. This is not about recology. This is about a decision made by local government and specifically about Yuba City Council. Those businesses are owned by our residents. Our residents are getting a reduction. That's first and foremost. It's important when you have businesses that are 14% out that you look at that. During our franchise agreement, during the modeling of that program, we looked at that. One of my arguments was they're too high for commercial. We moved forward. We're to the point where we made that decision. We made it legally. We did it the right way. We did it in a public forum, and I stand behind that decision 100%. We will continue to look at rates over time, and we will impact what each one of our people are paying, what our residents are paying. And don't forget, when we start repairing those streets with some of that money, that's money that doesn't come out of your pocket.
Daria, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you. Yes, I agree that it had nothing to do with recology and that it was not a tax and many of the other things that have been mentioned in this process. I agree that the money to be used for our city streets is a wonderful idea because that is part of the public safety that I'm looking to see occur in the city of Yuba City. Some of it is important, just like police and fire, that our roads are safe to travel. And I'm grateful for that decision, and I applaud the city council for making it.
Thank you. Angel?
All right. In terms of economics, if I had $1 for every time campaign season comes along and every candidate says jobs is important, I'd be rich. And then, of course, but the government can't do anything about it. We're not in the business doing it. I'd be double rich. So let's get down to brass tacks and say there's got to be something that can be done. So, Jason, I'm going to start with you. Over the past 8 years, the city's economic and job growth has been stagnant. It's actually been among the worst in this entire nation. What must be done to quickly improve this situation?
I'm actually glad you asked that question, and that's one that I'm proud to start with on my first go round. What we've got here is it comes back to you hear about all the businesses sniffing around and then they leave. We've got to make it economically feasible to come to this city. We've got to make it economically feasible to be able to afford a house in this city. To put a shovel in the ground in the city limits is more than any other place in California. It's absolutely absurd. And we've got to really take a look and maybe do an audit of our fees and fee structure in the city. We've got to get these fees down. The impact fees are astronomical for builders and developers. And that just isn't for builders and developers. At that point, it gets fed back to the people. You sitting here, you're paying more for your house because of the impact fees. We just built a dog shelter that now is going to cost us $105 more for every house that's built because they didn't pay attention to the checkbook.
Stan?
This is a unique situation because Yuba City, when it comes to developing jobs and retaining jobs, good paying, is not an island. Due to the fact that Sutter County is actually the driving force of the economics of Yuba City also. Agriculture, and then anything that supports it, ag-related. Sutter County had policies first that hindered the ability for Yuba City to have a strong partner in economic development and growth in finances. One of the biggest things that I had worked on and the other board members was to change our general plan to where instead of saying it was business friendly, but it really is. We are in the final adoption process of these new policies that have made Sutter County an attraction to growth. We are very busy at expanding our agricultural processing and growth. So that is one of the areas to where it can bring in here to where now the partnership is laid out to be partners. Now we can move forward helping Yuba City.
Pre?
I think what we can do is start here locally. We need to reach out to our local businesses. We need to have a collaboration with our students, do some training opportunities where we bring in these kids, kind of like an internship. it's a win-win situation. We teach our kids about the work ethic. We also teach them a trade. The businesses themselves gain staff to help them out, and hopefully even produce a bigger business for them. So we need to just reach out first locally right here and help our local businesses increase their business and increase our students to be more involved in the economic area. So that's one of the areas that we can actually do right now. If our local businesses and our schools, we all venture out, produce programs. I remember growing up having an ROP program. That's almost non-existent right now. Those are some of the things that we need to probably reach out again.
John?
Impact fees are a huge item. They always bring up some controversy in Yuba City. Yuba City is currently only collecting 60% of its residential impact fees when we build, and that's about $15,000. Those will move up over time as the economy improves. But don't forget that the schools also collect $2.60 a square foot on every residence that's built. Sutter County collects $3,500, and we have a levy fee of about another $2,500. All of those fees are collected up. All of those look like they're all coming from Yuba City. They're not. The animal shelter. Did we kick up the fee on that? Yeah, we're watching the checkbook. We borrowed money from ourselves. It's for the future. That money has to be paid back. And the way to do that is through impact fees. Each one of those new residences will have an impact on the services provided at that shelter.
Daria?
Okay, so the question started out with jobs, and the impact fees do impact our area because they are high and there is still some conflict with that. Yuba County was able to lower their impact fees while Sutter County was looking at raising theirs, which that with a zero growth comment for the next 10 years at a government affairs committee meeting. So they're looking at rearranging that so that there can be an improvement. My thought is that, as Preet mentioned, there is a junior achievement program that's developing here, and ROP is coming back to life. Those are all opportunities, but we need to create an environment that is friendly to business, attractive to business, and a community that invites our educated children to come back. We only have 3% of our educated children come back to this area, and I would like to be part of changing that environment.
Jason, would you like to add anything? Got 30 seconds.
Yes, I would. I understand that we did reduce our residential fee somewhat, but the problem is we didn't touch on any other fees. No commercial, no multifamily, nothing. We need to address all the fees across the board to make it feasible to come back to Yuba City.
Thank you.
Question starts with Stan. Another question from the public. As a city council member, you may need to vote on the issuance of economic development incentives to garner and possibly retain new businesses, such as a new car dealership. Should an existing large employer or high tax generating business that is considering locating or expanding in Yuba City ask for an incentive, such as a tax break, would you be in favor of granting incentives?
Excellent question. I'm going to have to say at this time, I would be willing to grant a temporary delay or postponement of a fee for 1 to 2 years staged. I've heard the number bantered around about $500,000 impact fees or costs that they're going to have for rebuilding or retooling up their dealership that's looking at coming in. And delaying it for 1 year, a proportion of it, I would be in favor of looking at that. But other types of incentives that we have tried in the county before actually do not work. Reducing impact fees right from the very beginning, making them appropriate, eliminating impact fees that there's no reason for them to be there. Those are the primary areas that we need to be looking at, and especially when you're dealing with infill projects. We already have infrastructure. We already have everything there. Why are we charging so much on infill projects?
Preet?
Absolutely. I think incentives should be considered at this time when the economic downfall is happening, hopefully it'll start creeping up, and it is starting to do that. But I think the incentives are helpful. Looking at impact fees, there's also charges that we do when there's amendments that are done. So those all need to be taken into consideration in an area when the economic environment is down. We need to provide and be more business friendly, allow businesses to have that open door communication with us, and be able to kind of compromise and work out situations so businesses can come in here. If we continue to push away and stay very strict, we'll never get the businesses here. We won't create those jobs that we really want. So we've got to open the doors and to consider some incentives. Absolutely, absolutely. And times change. So look at the changing environment. We've got to keep up with that.
John?
Let's be clear. Yuba City only collects $11 million in sales tax from our businesses here. And when someone comes in and wants a huge portion of that or wants a percentage of that, is that fair to the other businesses that are generating that sales tax? I think when we look at incentive programs, we need to look at some index number dealing with our sales tax and be able to provide that back to our community on a buy local program, shop local program, local auto dealer program, those kind of things. Those need to be explored. We need to really look at those in great depth to see what we can do to help not only the business that wants to relocate here and take money, but also those that are here and have been here for 30, 40 years and have struggled for the last 5 years.
Daria?
So I agree with both what Preet and John have said. I do think the key word is some incentives, and as John mentioned, it should go to all businesses. We've just have opened one new dealership, and a second one is about to open, and we would invite somebody else in that is brand new and give them incentives that haven't been given to the existing businesses. I don't see that as a positive. I think the idea of having something that would help existing businesses would be of benefit to us, and I think also that we need to create an environment that is conducive to bringing more businesses and more opportunities to our community.
Jason?
It comes back to fees again, and we're not going to be able to reduce all the fees. We're not. I mean, I would like to say we could reduce all the fees and not have them there at all. But the fact of the matter is what if we made it conducive to a business plan to where they could put it out a couple of years? We're still going to get the money in the long term, but we're going to put it out for a few years to where they're paying extra on their taxes to catch up their fees. At least they can fit it in a business plan to where they're not paying it all up front, and they know they got a chance to make it up over the next few years. There's multiple ways to look at this, but we have to get something going instead of spinning our tires to get the businesses here and helping out the local businesses. The local businesses are key also. And like Stan said, Stan hit it really on the head with the infill projects. The infrastructure's there. We do not need to charge on that amount that is consistent across the board. If we cut the infill projects down on their impact fees, the streets are in. Maybe we have them do some maintenance on the streets that are around them, but we do not need to charge the same amount on our infill projects. My time's up.
Stan, anything to add?
I've almost forgotten what the question. I got so absorbed into what was going on, because with only 1 minute, it's very difficult to be able to really say the full picture, because all of these solutions are part of it in this time, in this question. There's no one answer on this question for this. But I know that many of the economic difficulties discussed on this and how to achieve this, I've had the privilege of being part of those solutions in the county, and we've achieved many of these changes and beginning to implement them. So we will be tested at the county level as to whether I was successful with the board.
We have time for one more question, and Andrew, I'm going to give you a heads up over there. We're going to pause right after the answers go around for this question and let you quickly change your tape before the closing comments.
Well, here we go. We'll start with Preet. This is also from the audience. Yuba City is filling in the Hillcrest water wells Do you support this action, and do you believe that surface water is and will be adequate for Yuba City needs now and in the future?
Oh my gosh, with the drought that's happening right now, any water issue is a huge concern. We need to look at all options at every level. My lawn is dying. I'm sure it is with everybody else, but we really, really need to look at our water options and what's out there, what's going to be best for the community. There is a Prop 1 out there, which is a water bond, $7.5 million water bond that includes all levels of water issues. So take a look at that. Anything concerned with water, definitely.
John?
If the wells are contaminated, fill them in. If they're dilapidated, going to create more maintenance, get rid of the tanks that are with them. We have a surface water system. It's a good system. It is a reliable water system. Unfortunately, what the state giveth, the state taketh away. When you negotiate with them, it's in good faith. They give you an allocation of water. When a drought happens, they take it away. Thank goodness the citizens of Yuba City have been diligent in conserving water, and we have some excess that has been banked over time. We still have those in our water agreements. We water our parks with wells. We do a number of projects here to try to eliminate or reduce our impact on our system. And we have explored and will continue to explore storage in an aquifer on the north side of town. That will be for emergency cases where we may be able to draw from that in future drought years. It's not going to end this year. Droughts come and go. This is California.
Daria?
So yes, we are in a drought, and if the Hillcrest water wells that are contaminated, they're contaminated. They shouldn't be watering, and then that's running into our water systems. I agree with responding to those in the fashion of shutting them down, and the dilapidated ones, and not issuing new permits on those, because the people have the same access to water that we do in the community, and the same quality of water that we do that are in that area. I think conservation is important, and I think as a community we have to continue to look at conserving, because if we don't have rain this year, we're going to have a more serious situation next year. So I applaud the city for sending out the letters telling us all to step back our watering, and hope that all of you in this room have complied with that. Water is important. I can't imagine turning on my faucet and not having water.
Jason?
I'm not well versed on the subject at all, but the fact of the matter is, if the water is contaminated, then we do need to fill in the wells. And they do all have water out there, so it isn't like we're taking water away from anybody. We're actually just going to fill in something that's contaminated. I say we continue with it.
Yeah.
Water, one of the items that I have, the main item that I have absorbed my life in, from the time that it leaves the clouds to the time it goes back up, and how it gets everywhere. I've been on DWR committees and boards and discussions on groundwater and groundwater storage, monitoring of them at the county level. Yuba City has been a good partner in discussing some of these things, and on one of our committees. The choices they have made have been difficult. They've tried to do what they can to make it happen. I think they've done some good decisions. The abandonment of the wells, I do not know what the level of contamination was, if it was arsenic or if it nitrates or whatever. So that would be the major question to find out, that as to whether it would need to be abandoned or not, because blending can be done to reduce the contaminants down to the proper levels. So, water has been a major part of my life, all up and down the state, North State. So I would be good, I hope, to address this at the city level.
Preet, did you have anything to add to that? You have the 30 seconds.
No, just really just echoing the same. We need to take care of our water. We need the citizens of Yuba City. All of us need it, and so we need to ensure that we are at top level and taking care of those issues.
All right. Thank you.
We'll get to our closing remarks in just a moment. Andrew's going to quickly put in a second tape. But again, appreciate everybody being here. We're able to get in about 8 questions, which is 1/3 of the whole load of questions we had. So I hope that by the questions that we were able to get to, you got a good idea of where these candidates stand on different issues and their thought processes and how they would go about conducting business as council people. And we're going to start our first closing statement from Stan Cleveland. You have up to 2 minutes.
I'm going to go back to my principles that I started with when I first ran for office. They have not changed, they're the same. We deserve a city council person who will work to ensure that government is open, accountable, and responsive to the needs of every citizen. Each resident should have accessibility to our council members, their ear, and regardless of their social and financial status. I believe that I have fulfilled this throughout the community, from the top to the bottom, being involved in many of the English as a second language at the library, citizenship program and naturalization ceremony due to our support of that at the library. The federal government asked to come here to hold special meetings and the naturalization ceremonies. I would do the same if I were elected to Yuba City. I would continue the same principles of elected officials that put your interests ahead of their own. To not be partial. Everybody has full access 24/7, and it's been that way. Occasionally, it's been early morning calls, but fully accessible. The main thing is our economic, how we're going to get to our economic strength. Working together with Sutter County as a partner is essential. Developing new paths and to make this happen. I think that my experience at solving many of these problems within the county, or setting the pathway, setting the foundation for the county to build on in the future, is what I can bring to Yuba City and continue that within the major population of Yuba City and serve the people as the best of my abilities. Thank you for this opportunity. Looking forward to serve you.
Preet?
I want to just go ahead and add a few personal notes. As a woman, I have the utmost respect and gratitude to our former mayors and council members, Karen Cardacelli and Leslie McBride, for being our voice. It's about time that we have a woman's voice again on City Council. As a single parent raising a beautiful child, my focus has and always will be children in mind. It is our obligation to provide them a foundation to grow and thrive in the future. As City Council, my focus will be exactly that. As a planning commissioner and chairperson, I have contributed to the betterment of our community, and I hope to continue to do so. Over the years, you've seen me out there with the kids. At least I'm trying to keep up with them, and I'm not about to stop. I will continue to do my work with the children. I will focus on programs and activities which are conducive to their well-being and their social being, and work on strategic development plans which will foster their economic environment so that we can provide them good paying jobs and hopefully have them back in our community after they finish their education, as I did myself. Industries, special fields, technology, you name it, let's open the doors for them. The future depends on what we do today, so we need to continue to expect more. Our community can grow by choice or by chance. I choose choice. I hope you do as well. Franklin Roosevelt once said, "We can't always build the future for our children, but we can build the children for our future." And I hold very strong to my own words. It's about our children, our community, and our future. I have the great honor and earned the endorsements of the Firefighters Association Local 3793, the Sutter Yuba County Employees Local 1, as well as the Operating Engineers Local 3. And I've also received the honor of the endorsement from Karen Cardacelli and Supervisor Larry Munger. And I hope to have your vote November 4th so we can continue our path in the better path in the quality of, she's waving me down, quality of life for you, our residents of Yuba City, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
John?
Again, thank each of you for being here. It's important that you're here. It's important that you hear what was said up here tonight. You're involved in this community. More people are. They just couldn't be here tonight. But we're proud of this community. We want to build a community that is responsive to the needs of our citizens, and I think we do that. The city of Yuba City is second to none in its quality of life and raising families here. Why do we choose to be here? Because we love this community. Our youth are important. Going into the schools and meeting with them and working with their life management classes are important. And I hear oftentimes that kids don't want to return to Yuba City. After an hour and a half in lecture with them, I give them everything that Yuba City has to offer. By the end of the class, 60% of them raise their hands and say that at this time they would like to return. At the beginning of the class, I only see maybe one or two hands. They want to come back here. They want to live with their families here. They want to be part of this community. They're vital to our community, and we need to continue to grow our community in a substantial way that provides that quality of life that each of us seeks. You're important. You get to make 3 choices for City Council. Tonight, you've looked at 5. You get to pick on Election Day those individuals that you want to represent this city, to lead this city forward for the next 4 years, and be an integral part of a team that continues to do for you its very best. Thank you.
Daria?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Appeal Democrat, KUBA, and all of you who are here and supporting us this evening in this forum with your questions. I have a lifelong family connection to Sutter County and a tireless dedication to making a positive difference. I'm single. I have launched 2 children from this community who have not returned, although they are extremely successful in their careers. I would like to create an environment here that would be conducive to bringing our educated children back to this community. We have a rich heritage, and I think that we need to take hold of that and own what we have here to make it the place that, to recognize ourselves what we have here in opportunity and make it the attractive place for business, for families, while still maintaining the agricultural lands in the rural feel. I have worked with children in this community. I'm the executive director of Shady Creek Foundation, which tells you that I'm committed to the children. I have been the president of the Alliance for Hispanic Advancement and chaired their Scholarship and Education Committee for 7 years, expanding it by 300% and providing scholarships to all cultures, and from not just freshmen in college, but through their senior year, so that they also have a connection to us and want to bring back those skills to this community. I appreciate the Junior Achievement Committee that is working here. I think that those are all pieces of the puzzle. There is a large movement for making this a tourism destination. Now, we have 5 rivers here. We have an airport where people fly in to enjoy what we have. We need to own it, and we need to move this community forward.
Jason?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I mean, it's great that we have this kind of turnout. The room is almost packed. This is awesome. We really need to get back to this on our city council meetings. You guys need to be an integral part of what's going on. I want to be your voice. Your voice will be heard through me, I promise. This has got to change. We need this kind of turnout all the time with you people. This is awesome. I mean, we really need to get back and get the citizens involved. Because right now it doesn't feel like to me that the businesses and the citizens have a voice whenever it comes to the decisions being made. With that being said, people want to be here. I agree with that statement, but we're not making it feasible for them to be here. We got to have the jobs. We got to have the economic development for those jobs to come here. Right now, we don't have it. It's not feasible to come to Yuba City whenever you can go to Roseville or Sacramento and have more of a pull from people. We got to figure out what they're doing to get this done. Because the fact of the matter is, until we decide to make a move to where it's going to be a little bit tighter on the city to get these people here and get our business owners here to lift them up some, we're not going to be able to get the economic growth that we want. That being said, I love this town. We all do. We're here. We're making it work, even though times are tight. We've really got to come together and figure out what needs to be done with the city to bring the economic development here.
Thank you, and thank you to all 5 candidates. Before you go this evening, I would like to put a plug in for the schedule that we have thus far of additional forums. On the 24th of this month, we will be at the Yuba County Government Center, and that will be for the Yuba County 5th District Supervisor's race. And then on the 9th of October, we'll be at Yuba City High School, and we'll have James Gallagher and Jim Reed running for the Assembly, and running for Congress, John Garamendi and Dan Logue. That's on the 9th at Yuba City High School in their backlot theater, enter off of Park Avenue. Again, thank you very much. Keep your eye to the media. We also are working to schedule a forum between Jennifer Dupre and Amanda Hopper for District Attorney. Thanks very much, and we appreciate your attendance tonight.